Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I am pleased to introduce today's presentation. We will be focusing on guidance on GMP inspection report. I am Dr. S.K. Singh, and I am glad you could join us. In this session, we will explore the key aspects of preparing and reviewing GMP inspection reports. We'll cover the essential steps, common pitfalls, and best practices to ensure clarity and compliance. Let's get started and make this session both informative and engaging. Let's start by looking at the GMP inspection report background. Here, we see that the Guidance on Good Manufacturing Practices inspection reports originates from a WHO document, specifically the Technical Report Series, number 908, Annex 6 from 2003. This document was brought to the attention of the WHO Expert Committee on Specifications for Pharmaceutical Preparations. The main goal of updating this guidance was to align it with the current formats used by the WHO pre-qualification team for inspections, as well as with international standards adopted by national and regional inspectorates. Additionally, this update considers the important concept of risk management. For example, it incorporates ideas from WHO's Guidelines on Quality Risk Management, published in 2014, which emphasize identifying and managing potential risks throughout the manufacturing process. Moving on to the introduction, this guidance aims to establish general principles and a recommended format for inspection reports. The idea is for organizations performing pharmaceutical inspections to use a consistent approach, which facilitates better cooperation and easier sharing of information across different bodies and countries. Now, regarding the scope, these guidelines specifically apply to reports on inspections of active pharmaceutical ingredients, or APIs, and finished pharmaceutical products, FPPs. They also mention that there's a separate template available for inspections of contract research organizations and quality control laboratories, recognizing that different types of inspections may require tailored reporting formats. Overall, these points highlight the importance of clear, standardized inspection reports that support transparency, consistency, and international collaboration in pharmaceutical quality assurance. Let's begin with some general information about the inspected site. First, we'll look at the company details. This includes the name of the manufacturer, the corporate address, and contact details such as telephone, fax, email, and 24-hour emergency numbers. It's important to have this information readily available for any follow-up or communication needs. Next, we have the contact person at the company, along with their telephone number and email address. This person is usually responsible for coordinating the inspection or providing additional information. Moving on to the inspected site itself, if the manufacturing location is different from the company address, we note the specific address here. We also record GPS coordinates in the WGS-84 system, so latitude and longitude in decimal degrees, taken at the main entrance. This precise location helps in identifying the exact site inspected. Additionally, if available, we include the DUNS number, which is a unique 9-digit identifier for the business. For sites with multiple production blocks or workshops, we specify exactly which parts were inspected, especially if the entire site was. We also record the site number, which could be a unit number, site master file number, or an identifier assigned by the responsible authority. If applicable, the manufacturing license number is noted here as well. Now let's talk about key personnel. We identify the main individuals responsible for operations, quality, or compliance at the site. Their roles and contact details are important for follow-up. Moving to the activities performed at the site, we summarize what happens there. This could include manufacturing active pharmaceutical ingredients, finished pharmaceutical products, intermediates, or bulk packaging. We also note if laboratory testing occurs, along with batch release, distribution, and import activities. Understanding these activities helps us assess the scope and compliance of the site. Finally, we mention the Model Inspection Report, which is a standardized way to document our findings and observations during the inspection. All these details together give a comprehensive picture of the site, supporting our overall evaluation process. Today, I will walk you through the key details of the inspection we conducted. First, let's look at the date or dates when these inspections took place. This helps us keep a clear timeline of our oversight activities. Next, we consider the type of inspection. For example, it could be an initial inspection to establish a baseline, a routine check as part of ongoing oversight, a follow-up to verify corrective actions, or a special inspection focused on specific concerns. Knowing the type helps contextualize the findings. Moving on, we identify the inspector or inspectors involved. This includes the lead inspector, their agency affiliations, and any other inspectors, accompanying experts, or observers present. This information ensures transparency and accountability in the process. We also determine whether the competent regulatory authority was involved, especially for foreign inspections. It's important to note whether the National Regulatory Authority, or NRA, of the country where the inspection occurred was informed, and whether they participated. This collaboration can be crucial for regulatory compliance. Furthermore, we specify the GMP guidelines used for assessing compliance. We list the relevant guidelines, including their titles, the publication they come from, and where they can be accessed online. For example, the WHO Good Manufacturing Practices for Pharmaceutical Products, along with the specific report and web address, help us maintain consistency in our assessment standards. Finally, the inspection details encompass all these points together. They provide a comprehensive overview that supports our overall quality assurance efforts. By thoroughly understanding and documenting each of these elements, we ensure our inspections are transparent, consistent, and aligned with international standards. On this slide, I'll give you a brief overview of the manufacturing activities at the site. We'll start by discussing the main operations, including the specific FPPs or APIs produced, along with their reference or registration numbers, and any relevant documentation such as API-MFs, DMFs, or SEPs. It's important to understand what products are made here and the regulatory status of each. Additionally, we'll touch on other activities carried out on the site, like the manufacture of cosmetics or research and development efforts. We also utilize external scientific, analytical, or technical assistance to support manufacturing and quality control processes, which helps ensure high standards. Next, I'll describe the quality management system in place. This includes how the firm maintains quality standards, and if available, we can refer to the Site Master file to give you a comprehensive view of the system's structure and controls. Moving on, I'll cover the history of inspections. This includes the date of the last inspection, any previous inspections by regulatory agencies, and a summary of those past assessments. We'll look at any observations made, especially regarding CAPA, from previous inspections. We'll also highlight any major changes since the last inspection, such as process improvements or facility modifications, and discuss planned future changes. Lastly, I'll mention any GMP-related recalls of products in the past 2 years, which is vital for understanding ongoing challenges or improvements. Throughout this discussion, I want to emphasize the importance of these points in understanding the site's compliance, quality controls, and continuous improvement efforts, all of which are crucial to the overall integrity of the manufacturing process. Today, I will provide a brief overview of the inspection activities we carried out. We focus on giving a clear picture of what was inspected, where, and who we engaged with during the process. Starting with the scope and limitations, we want to highlight the specific blocks that were inspected, as well as the areas of particular interest that guided our focus. It's important to note that some areas, activities, or product lines were out of scope for this inspection, either because they were not part of the planned review or due to certain constraints. We also encountered some restrictions during our inspections, such as physical constraints or access limitations in specific areas, which we documented carefully to ensure transparency. Moving on to the areas inspected, we included various dosage forms, such as tablets, capsules, or liquids, depending on what was relevant to the inspection objectives. This helps us understand the scope of our review and where potential issues could be identified. Finally, I'll mention the key persons we met with. Knowing who we engaged with, including their names and job titles, is essential because it helps contextualize the insights gained during the inspection. Their roles often provide valuable perspectives on the processes and compliance measures in place. Overall, this slide helps us understand the boundaries of our inspection and the key personnel involved, setting the stage for the detailed findings that follow in the report. In this section, we provide a general overview of our findings and recommendations, where applicable. The report is structured based on the WHO guidance for good manufacturing practices, focusing on the main principles. It can also be organized around 6 key inspection systems: the pharmaceutical quality system, production system, facilities and equipment, laboratory control, materials, and packaging and labeling. Throughout the inspection, we identify observations that are non-compliant with GMP standards and list them clearly. When positive observations are noted, we make sure to distinguish them from the non-compliant ones to give a balanced view. Non-compliance observations are categorized to help prioritize actions, often as critical, major, or other, depending on the definitions provided by the member state. Importantly, we also include deadlines for corrective actions, aligned with the policies of the National Regulatory Authority, to ensure timely compliance. Focusing on the pharmaceutical quality system, we look at how well the organization has implemented and institutionalized its quality processes. This includes key elements like quality risk management and product quality review, which are essential for maintaining high standards. A strong PQS ensures that quality is built into every stage of manufacturing, and effective implementation of risk management and review processes helps in proactively identifying and addressing issues. This comprehensive approach is fundamental to ensuring product safety and efficacy, and it ties into the overall theme of continuous improvement and regulatory compliance. Let's take a look at some key aspects of good manufacturing practices, or GMP, for pharmaceutical products. First, sanitation and hygiene are fundamental. It's crucial to have clear procedures and records related to the cleanliness of personnel, premises, equipment, and production materials. This helps us prevent contamination from any source that could compromise product quality. Next, qualification and validation are essential to ensure our manufacturing processes are reliable and consistent. We need documented policies and procedures, along with records that prove equipment and processes are properly qualified and validated. Importantly, we also monitor and maintain the validation status regularly to ensure ongoing compliance. Moving on to handling complaints, it's vital to have defined procedures and responsibilities. Proper records should be maintained for all complaints, and investigations should extend to other batches when necessary. We must also consider the possibility of counterfeits, trending patterns, and have clear plans for recalls and informing the relevant authorities. Speaking of recalls, a robust recall procedure is vital. It should be well documented and regularly tested to prove its effectiveness. We also need to have clear provisions for notifying customers and authorities, as well as segregating any products that are recalled to prevent unintended distribution. All these elements, sanitation, qualification, complaint handling, and recalls, are interconnected. They form a comprehensive framework that helps us ensure the safety, efficacy, and quality of our pharmaceutical products. Let's now look at contract production, analysis, and other related activities. It's crucial to evaluate our contractors thoroughly, ensuring they meet all necessary standards. This includes verifying compliance with marketing authorizations and ensuring that all contractual agreements are comprehensive, clearly outlining responsibilities and limits. This clarity helps prevent misunderstandings and maintains quality control. Moving on to self-inspection, quality audits, and supplier audits, these are vital parts of our quality assurance system. We have detailed procedures for conducting self-inspections, specifying what items to review, how often inspections occur, and how teams are constituted. We also maintain schedules and reports to track these activities, along with a system to monitor and follow up on any corrective actions needed. Regarding suppliers, we evaluate and approve them through well-defined procedures that incorporate risk management principles. This helps us determine when on-site audits are necessary and how frequently they should occur, based on the level of risk associated with each supplier. Now, let's talk about personnel. We have a system in place for conducting initial and regular health examinations of our staff, tailored to their specific responsibilities. We also implement measures to ensure everyone maintains a high standard of personal hygiene, which is essential for product safety. This includes proper hand washing, gowning procedures, and maintaining a clean environment. Additionally, we enforce restrictions on smoking, eating, drinking, or chewing materials in production, laboratory, and storage areas. These measures are all designed to prevent contamination and uphold the integrity of our products. By integrating these activities into our overall quality system, we reinforce our commitment to safety, compliance, and excellence across every stage of production and personnel management. Let's now look at the key aspects related to premises. It's crucial that the location, design, construction, and maintenance of our facilities are appropriate to minimize errors and prevent cross-contamination. This also includes ensuring that cleaning and maintenance are effective and easy to perform. We need measures for dust control and specific procedures for ancillary areas, storage zones, weighing, production, and quality control spaces. Proper segregation and restricted access are vital to maintain control and prevent mix-ups. Additionally, we must have provisions for suitable lighting, effective ventilation, and air control systems to avoid contamination or cross-contamination. Controlling temperature and humidity where necessary is also essential for maintaining product quality and safety. Moving on to equipment, it's important to assess whether the number, type, location, design, and construction of our equipment are sufficient to meet our needs. Proper maintenance and cleaning protocols are equally essential to prevent errors and contamination. Keeping detailed use, cleaning, and maintenance records helps us stay on top of equipment performance. Calibration of balances and other measuring instruments ensures accuracy, and clear status labeling helps staff quickly identify equipment status, reducing the risk of mistakes. Now, regarding materials, we need robust measures for selecting, storing, approving, and using materials of appropriate quality. This includes everything from starting materials and packaging to reagents, culture media, and reference standards. Proper handling and control of rejected, recovered, reprocessed, or reworked materials are necessary to maintain integrity. Also, managing recalled products, returned goods, and waste materials carefully is critical to avoid mix-ups or contamination. These controls are all part of ensuring our processes remain compliant, safe, and of high quality, supporting the overall integrity of our operations. Let's now look at the documentation system in place. It's essential that we have a comprehensive and adequate system that covers all aspects, from labels to specifications and testing procedures. This includes documentation for starting materials, packaging materials, intermediate products, bulk products, and finished products. We also need master formulas, detailed packaging instructions, and thorough batch processing and packaging records. Additionally, standard operating procedures and their records are critical. Equally important is how we institutionalize the principles of good documentation and data management. Remember the ALCOA principles: attributable, legible, contemporaneous, original, and accurate. These principles help ensure our data is reliable and well-maintained throughout the process. Moving on to good practices in production, it's vital that we have clear procedures, suitable facilities, and controls in place for both processing and packaging. These controls are designed to prevent risks like mix-ups, cross-contamination, and bacterial contamination during production, safeguarding the quality and safety of our products. Regarding quality control, the organization and independence of the QC function are fundamental. We need to ensure that our quality control team is sufficiently resourced and operates independently from other departments. we also have procedures, facilities, and documentation systems that guarantee necessary tests are performed thoroughly. No material should be released for use, nor should products go to market, until their quality is confirmed as compliant with our standards. Furthermore, we have strict procedures for controlling starting materials, intermediates, bulk, and finished products, including specific test requirements and responsibilities for batch record reviews. Our system also includes procedures and records for initial and ongoing stability studies, along with policies and facilities for retention samples. Overall, these elements form a robust framework that supports the integrity and quality of our manufacturing process, aligning with our overall goal of ensuring product safety and efficacy. Let's take a moment to talk about the samples taken, if applicable. This step is crucial because it provides the actual data needed to assess product quality and safety. Next, we look at the assessment of the site master file, if it's relevant. This document is like the blueprint of the site's quality management system, helping us understand how everything is organized and controlled. Finally, if there are any annexes attached, we need to review them carefully. These attachments often contain supporting documents, detailed procedures, or additional data that can be vital for a comprehensive evaluation. All of these elements, samples, site master file, and annexes, are essential pieces of the overall picture. They help us ensure compliance, identify potential issues, and maintain the integrity of the process. This step ties directly into our overall goal of quality assurance and continuous improvement. Now, let's take a closer look at the list of deficiencies identified during the inspection. As you can see, these deficiencies are categorized according to their severity and linked to specific sections of the GMP guidelines. Starting with critical deficiencies, these are the most serious issues that could directly impact product quality or patient safety. For example, we have issues referenced in sections 1.1 and 1.2, which typically involve fundamental failures in manufacturing controls or contamination risks. Moving on to major deficiencies, these are significant but not immediately jeopardizing the product. They are linked to sections 2.1 and 2.2, often related to deviations from established procedures or inadequate training. Then we have minor deficiencies. These are less severe but still important to address for ongoing compliance, with references in sections 3.1 and 3.2. They might include documentation gaps or minor procedural lapses. Finally, there are other deficiencies, which might include observations or areas for improvement, connected to sections 4.1 and 4.2. Organizing deficiencies in this way helps us prioritize actions effectively, ensuring we address the most critical issues first while maintaining a comprehensive view of overall compliance. This structured approach aligns with the overall theme of maintaining high standards in pharmaceutical manufacturing. In this slide, we're looking at the initial conclusion we draw after an inspection, specifically regarding the GMP status. It's important to note that this includes any restrictions in scope that might apply. Based on what we observe during the inspection, particularly the types and number of deficiencies, we use certain guidance to determine the outcome. For example, if we find only other deficiencies, meaning minor issues that don't significantly impact compliance, we can generally conclude that the operation is operating at an acceptable level of GMP compliance. However, if there are other deficiencies combined with a small number of major issues, say fewer than 6, the decision about compliance level will depend on how we evaluate the corrective and preventive actions, or CAPAs, that are put in place to address those deficiencies. Finally, if we encounter critical deficiencies or a larger number of major deficiencies, 6 or more, we consider the operation to be at an unacceptable level of compliance with GMP guidelines. Now, it's also important to be aware of the specific GMP guidelines referenced during the inspection. These are listed here, and they form the basis for our assessment. Overall, the key takeaway is that the severity and number of deficiencies directly influence the final judgment of GMP compliance, guiding our next steps in ensuring quality and safety. Now, let's discuss the final part of our review. We'll look at the adequacy of the company's response to the issues identified during the inspection. It's important to assess whether their actions effectively address the concerns raised. Then, we'll move on to the final conclusion, where we state whether the company remains compliant with GMP standards, including any restrictions that might limit the scope of that compliance. Next, we'll consider the risk rating following the inspection. For example, we categorize the risk as low, medium, high, or critical. This helps us prioritize areas needing attention. We'll also note the date when the next inspection is due, which is useful for planning purposes. Please keep in mind that this information might be for internal use only, depending on the situation. Then, we record the names of all inspectors involved, including the lead inspector, along with their signatures and the date of the assessment. All these elements, assessment of the company's response, final conclusion, risk rating, and next due date, are crucial for providing a comprehensive overview of the inspection outcome and ensuring ongoing compliance and oversight. Let's take a closer look at this slide, which provides an example of a risk category assessment for a site. Here, we're illustrating how risks are categorized based on their severity and likelihood. This helps us understand where potential issues might arise and how they can impact the project or operation. You'll notice that the assessment breaks risks into different categories, often something like low, medium, and high, so we can prioritize our mitigation efforts accordingly. For example, a risk that's highly likely to occur and could cause serious harm would fall into the high-risk category, requiring immediate attention and action. Connecting this to our overall theme, conducting a thorough risk assessment like this is crucial for proactive planning. It allows us to identify vulnerabilities early, allocate resources effectively, and ultimately safeguard the site and its surrounding environment. So, this example underscores the importance of a systematic approach to risk evaluation, helping us make informed decisions to minimize potential impacts down the line. For further support, please feel free to contact us. We're here to help you with any questions or additional information you might need. And with that, I want to sincerely thank you all for your time and attention today. Your engagement is truly appreciated, and I hope you found this presentation valuable. Remember, we're always available to assist you moving forward. Thank you again, and have a great day.